Facebook Live as the Cardinals barrel toward week 4 of the college football season. Mike New joins us again, as he does every Monday here, and you can always get involved in the conversation as well. Just leave a comment right here below the feed on Facebook, and then we'll funnel those questions to Coach over the next couple of minutes as we talk about the win over Tennessee Tech and look forward to Western Kentucky coming up this Saturday as well. First off, win is a win. There's no such thing as a bad win or I guess a good win. I guess they're all just a win is a win. When you watch the film back, though, I'm sure you looked at it and said there were some really good things. There's also some stuff you feel like you need to clean up before you hit the road this week. What's kind of your 48-hour removed impression of how Saturday went?
Well, number one, we got to fix the turnover situation. We lost a turnover battle and we won the football game. The credit goes to our defense because the hidden stat here is off of those 3 turnovers that we had, our defense held them to 3 points, which is fantastic. I think it's a great confidence booster for our defense. A lot of good football on the field on Saturday, but yet at the same time, execution-wise, offensively, not as good as we have been, not as sharp as we have been. So we've got to make our corrections. We got to get back to the practice field on Tuesday. Again, I think overall, though, obviously you said it, a win's a win. You don't get style points. We take them all. Great day, great crowd. Those things were all great, but we got to make sure that we're continuing to develop. We got a lot of young players that played, and even more so on Saturday than in weeks past. So those guys are putting some good film out there, but at the same time, we still have weaknesses we have to work on.
We talked leading into the game just about big plays for you. You had only had one play over 30 yards the first 2 weeks of the season. You ran the ball 3 times for more than that on Saturday, capitalized, or rather to top it off, the 66-yard. You think that I would have words for these things. To top it off, the 66-yard touchdown run by Malik Dunner. What did you see in particular when it came to big plays in the run game that really allowed you to spring some?
I think that's our commitment to the run. There's some runs that you're going to have throughout the course of the game that aren't going to go so well. It's a 1-yarder, a 2-yarder, perhaps a no-gainer. So to see all 3 of those backs, James, Malik, and Caleb, all 3 have a big hitter at some point in time, I think that just goes to show our commitment to the run. Coach Lynch, Coach Devan do a great job of, obviously every single week putting a great game plan together that way. So that's just, when you have 3 very talented players at the running back position like that, you want to get the ball in their hands. And so you got to be committed to it. And it's great to see those guys break one off at some point in the game.
Seemed like they ran well with speed, too. They were able to get to the outside by design.
Well, there's certain runs that we have that could, they could end up bouncing it outside. There's obviously you have reads, but at the same time instincts come into play, and those 3 young men all have great instincts. And so when you see some green grass and you have enough speed to get to that green grass, which they do, sometimes that's just how it unfolds. So again, great job by those guys. We can't get the ball in their hands enough, and we just got to keep working and building and clean up our mistakes.
Defensively, you saw some good things. You saw some things I'm sure you want to clean up. First off, I want to talk about third down play in particular because you guys came in so staunch on third down. The first 3 for Tennessee Tech, strip sack, and I think interception. Then they rattled off a few in a row, but you battened down the hatches at that point. What's been so strong on third down defensively for you guys? And what was strong in particular on Saturday?
Well, I think communication-wise, obviously you have to be, because an offense is they spend as much time game planning for third down, as much time game planning for red zone as they do their base stuff. So when you have to have great communication when you're on third down, because if they bring a motion or they bring a shift, you got to be able to handle that. You have to be able to adjust, get lined up. So communication-wise, and our defensive staff does a great job getting our guys prepared. We work on third down as much as anything else, and we work on red zone as much as we work on anything else throughout the week. So that's good to see that transfer over to the field. And of course, when you have a guy, when they're in an obvious passing situation, you got a guy like Anthony Winbush coming off the edge. And that's a great situation to be in, because we all know the success he's had here the first 3 weeks. None of us are surprised, but it's great to continue to see him play at a high level every week, even though he's commanding so much attention.
He winds up with a couple of more sacks in that game. We all look at that as fans and say, well, they had 2 sacks, great day. When you look at it as coaches, you see the 2 sacks. What else did you see in terms of the ways he impacted the game by not necessarily getting to the quarterback, but rushing the quarterback, or just the other facets of what he's supposed to do that made an impact.
Yeah, Anthony's playing great football right now. He's got a high motor. I think he's worked hard in the weight room, worked hard conditioning-wise to maintain his weight where he's at. And to see him be fresh in the fourth quarter and a lot of times the game's on the line or it's a critical situation, and that's when he's playing his best football, that's awesome to see, because when he commands attention and two offensive players are trying to block him, that's freeing somebody else up. And you're seeing sack production from young players like Christian Albright. You're seeing David Moore come off the edge because they're so worried about Anthony that they turn David loose off the edge. So other guys are benefiting from the attention that he commands, and we hope that continues. And it's great to see Anthony still have production, even though they're trying to pay and cater their game plan to stop him.
It's a couple of weeks now that David Moore's had some big plays for you. Yeah. Talk about the play of him a little bit. A guy who's bided his time and has been around in the program and now has a role and seems to have thrived in it.
The great thing about David is he always plays with great effort, and it not just on defense where we saw his production the other day, but he's such a big factor for us in special teams, especially the coverage units, because the number one way to beat a block on special teams is with speed, and that speed shows up with David Moore. He's running down on punt coverage, and really, if you're down there, you're forcing the guy to fair catch, and they will eliminate the potential of a return. Same thing on kickoff coverage. But he takes pride in that role, too. He really is in tune with that every week when Coach Doherty installs our special teams. He takes pride in that role, and hopefully our young players see that. They buy into how important special teams is each and every week.
Let's get into that for a second, because we said on the radio at some point, like in the third quarter, I looked at Rich and I said, I've got to look at where Ball State's going to rank nationally this week in kickoff coverage, just because it seemed like every drive for Tennessee Tech was starting inside the 20. And oddly, it wasn't as high as I thought, so I guess a lot of people are focusing on kickoff coverage. But the way that you guys are focusing on that side of the football, to have drives start at the 17, 18-yard line, what's worked for you in that area?
Well, we drill special teams so much here. Coach Doherty works so hard every week to make sure that we have everything covered, and we spend enough quality meeting time and practice reps to make sure we have every scenario covered. Tennessee Tech, when you went into that game last week, they had a lot of stuff on tape for 3 straight weeks of unique looks, onside kick attempts, sky kicks. I mean, there was a number of different things to prepare for. And that, hey, they're going to present with us with something different kickoff return-wise, perhaps the way they line up. So I think just the way he goes about preparing our players, all of our coaches have a role in special teams, and they take pride in that. And so, to see 3 of our guys in kickoff coverage have 3 different guys have tackles inside the 25-yard line tells me and tells us that, man, all those guys are buying in. They're all taking it upon themselves to make sure they stay in their lane, do their job. We're having our opponents start inside what would be, if you kick it in the end zone, a touchback. So we're going to continue to do that. That's the Ball State's taken a lot of pride over the years in special teams, even before my arrival. So we're just going to continue to do that.
Saturday night, Western Kentucky is your opponent, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock Eastern. They're one of the top offenses in the country from a year ago. They bring back a quarterback who threw for more than 4,000 yards last year and played at USF before that as well. Big body, 6'4", 230. He's got that NFL kind of look to him, the stats that go along with it. All of that said, what concerns you most?
Well, you nailed it. The quarterback is coming off one of the best years in FBS. A year ago, they had a coaching change. So I look at it like they're probably not where they need to be or where they're going to be yet, with the coaching staff change and them getting to learn all the players there. But, man, when you watch his tape and you see him throw the ball, it's like, whoa, we got to be ready at all times. We got to be sound with our coverage. We got to get after the quarterback to make it uncomfortable for him in the pocket. It all starts with him, though. They let one, slip away. I'm sure that they're, disappointed that losing on a last-second field goal right there when they really had the game under control. So we're going to get their best effort. They're going to be chomping at the bit here to get a win at home. But that's what we got to do more than anything else. We got to make sure we get to the quarterback there, make sure we limit his big plays because he's talented. And obviously we all know the results he had a year ago, and he can throw the ball.
What's he do well?
Well, I think just, working through a progression. There's not a throw on the field that he can't make. He's got big-time arm talent. He's got great size. He understands the field. He understands coverage. So those are the things when you're dealing with that kind of guy, the best way to disrupt him is with pressure and making sure that we're making it uncomfortable for him in the pocket.
They've been vocal that they want to run the football better as well. They did lose their running back from a year ago who had a 1,500-yard season, and they've talked about physicality, and that's kind of where it all starts. For you guys coming into it, probably 2 weeks in a row where you would have liked to have stopped the run better. It's obviously a focal point. What do you do this week to get yourself ready?
Well, it all comes down to tackling. We got to be fundamentally sound tackling. That will continue to be a point of emphasis, so that we make sure we have, because we had some yards after contact again on Saturday, but a lot of that is we're playing a lot of young football players. They're still kind of getting acclimated to the speed of the game, to the physicality of the game. So those guys will continue to get better. Getting Jacob White back in the lineup will help. We hope to get Jay Thomas back in the lineup. But our guys really, for the most part, besides a couple of runs the other day, did a sound job against the run on Saturday, and we got to continue to do that. It all starts with, every team wants to be able to run the ball and kind of establish that early in the game. That opens up everything else. We've got to make sure that we're good with that.
Health-wise, you mentioned Jake White, you mentioned Jalen Thomas. Where else are you guys healthy, banged up?
Well, we got the normal bumps and bruises that happen every single week. We're hoping to have Jordan Hogue back with us this week in practice and in the lineup on Saturday. That'll be day-to-day. But, it's like any normal team. Everybody's got the same challenges each and every week. You get guys with bumps and bruises that are going to be day-to-day. But, for the most part, our guys have been healthy. They do a great job of staying on top of it, working in the weight room to try to, maintain their body and give themselves the best chance possible.
And it's Western Kentucky coming up at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock local, 7 o'clock Eastern on Saturday night. First night game. Issues that come along with that. You got to sit in a hotel and be antsy all day.
That's the hardest part of all of it when you play at night is, man, you're chomping at the bit on Saturday. You got to sit around in your room and you got to watch other games that are on TV, and you're like, man, let's hurry up. Let's get pregame warm up here. Let's get this thing going. So that's the most challenging part, but our guys will handle that. This is the first of 3 in a row on the road for us. So our mentality of being road warriors, that's about to get started.
Mike, best of luck. We'll talk about it a lot this week, and we'll see you on Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
It's Facebook Live with the head coach, Mike Neu. We're back here next Monday to break it all down.